I am wearing my Constitution tie today. So I think it's super, super important that people have an opportunity to speak when they would like to. One of the things we rebelled against England for was because we weren't allowed to petition the king. So you should be able to petition the government.
I will be remaining anonymous tonight.
No.
No. In accordance to the Open Public Meeting Act, and I guess we're going to have your lawyer tell you this, and the Fourth Amendment of the United States, anonymous communications are heavily protected by the First Amendment as you wear your Constitution tie. As you wear the Constitution in tie form, you ignore the values and the fundamental rights that come along with it.
Sir,
How dare you think that what? Oh, I need to, what?
You have to give your name and
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Open Public Meeting Act.
You're incorrect, sir.
No, the last time I saw you was January 23rd of 2023, and you caught off a woman who was trying to have a moment of silence for her friends who had opiate overdoses. And when you cut her off, I decided from that moment on I would never give my name, ever. I saw such disgusting display from you.
Sir, you have to step
And
away.
you, no.
You know what? I'll allow it. He's clearly not from Summit. That's fine.
I'm from the United States of America, Council President.
You've got...
Takes us to Summit, where the back and forth in City Council is creating controversy.
Ordinance adds a new section to 319 to the city's police regulations, establishing clear rules that prohibit sleeping or camping in public spaces.
One of New Jersey's wealthiest zip codes is looking to outlaw homelessness by banning it outright. The measure first mentioned at Tuesday's City Council meeting.
The purpose is to preserve the safe and accessible use of public property.
As a homeless crisis goes, Summit is not dealing with excessive homelessness. They have a population of around 5 people, and yet the city has a dedicated task force, allocated resources, and now it's looking for an all-out ban. A wave of similar measures have been adopted since the Supreme Court upheld an Oregon law banning homeless people from using blankets, pillows, and cardboard boxes for shelter and protection.
In general, if you agree with something that somebody said, raise your hand and just say, yep, agree. All right, at this time, I would like to, we're going to open up our hearing on this ordinance. We're going to begin with public comments. Just remind people when you come to the lectern, please state your full name and your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Who would like to come? Please approach the bench. You guys can make a line if you'd like.
Leonard Prentice, 12 Chestnut Avenue. I've been in Summit since 2011. I only happened through here on my way to Pennsylvania. I spent much of my time homeless, living here. Because of good people that I happened to meet here, I was able to have some doors open for me and gave me an opportunity to make a life here for myself. I am not an exception to the rule. What it is that I happen to meet people who look beyond the convenience of their situation and their position and their social status, and didn't recognize that I was a person just like these people that you've been describing. I've slept on those park benches, I've slept in the parks, I've slept on church plots, I've slept just about anywhere I could get out of this light, just like these other people. The problem is, most of the homeless have never been homeless before. They don't know nothing about living out here. Not because it's Summit or Newark. The people that you're particularly talking about here, those that don't want help, refuse help, they're terrified of the options that you've given them. They're terrified. They don't, most of these people come from these small towns like Summit, grew up, built homes, had businesses, sent their kids off to college, and their kids have returned home, have their own homes. But because of whatever happened, the bottom dropped out of their lives, their marriage fell apart, a significant other died, and on, they find themselves out here, unprepared for homeless life. And the community has a responsibility for making sure that they have resources that will help them reconstruct their lives. And it's not a matter of convenience for the city council or the president of the United States. People need what they need in spite of their inconvenience to you. My thing is this, and I'm gonna cut this short because I'm getting ready to get rude. The thing is this, you got that firehouse over, the old firehouse over there? Use it as a community service center. You have enough room to house any homeless people you got here under one roof, and you don't have to move them all over town like gypsies. That's one of the reasons why they don't trust you, because you haven't given them anything to feel settled with to make them feel comfortable with you. The other thing is, you got the right organizations, but you don't have a game plan. Summit Warm
Mr. Curtis,
Heart.
could you wrap it up, please?
Yes, Summit Warm Heart and the rest of them were here to make sure Summit didn't have to deal with a lot of the problems that a lot of the communities are. My thing is, use that firehouse or another where you can sleep all the homeless, provide services with social service workers, a 4-week program.
I'm going to
where
ask you to
bring
wrap
in
it up,
mentors
okay? Thank you.
And re-educate them before you put them in the street, because most of them
Thank
don't
you.
know how to take care of themselves.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I will be remaining anonymous tonight.
No,
No. In accordance to the Open Public Meeting Act, and I guess we're going to have your lawyer tell you this, and the Fourth Amendment of the United States, anonymous communications are heavily protected by the First Amendment as you wear your Constitution tie. As you wear the Constitution in tie form, you ignore the values and the fundamental rights that come along with it.
Sir, you
How
have to-
dare you think that I, what? Oh, I need to,
You have
what?
to give your name and
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Open
Yes, you're-
Public Meeting Act.
You're incorrect, sir.
No, the last time I saw you was January 23rd of 2023, and you cut off a woman who was trying to have a moment of silence for her friends who had opiate overdoses. And when you cut her off, I decided from that moment on I would never give my name, ever. I saw such disgusting display from you,
Sir, you have to step
and you,
away.
no.
You know what? I'll allow it. He's clearly not from Summit. That's fine.
I'm from the United States of America,
You've-
Council President.
You've got a few more minutes left. Have your piece. Thank you.
I mean, talk about some housekeeping. Jesus Lord. How dare you? Through the chair to the lawyer, how dare you? Through the chair to Mr. Boyer, when you introduced this ordinance, it had napping in it. And as you sit here in front of all these residents and you say that napping is a human right and a human need, when you introduced this ordinance, it was certainly in there. And to watch you get everyone all riled up with your comment and then your second comment, when we're done, you're going to have a third comment. Last time when it was introduced last meeting, you needed to speak on it, even though the council president said we don't like to just traditionally do this during the introduction. You couldn't help but get your words in. You just couldn't help it. You know? Anyone from the public can come here and make comments,
You're making one.
and they don't have to give their name. That is protected by the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the Open Public Meeting Act. Mr. Lawyer, I've been to council meetings all across this state, and I stopped giving my name and address because of what you did to that lady. So I'm glad that napping's out of it. I'm glad about that. And it's funny to hear you talk about that being a human need and a human right when it was originally in there. Whoever decided to remove that from the ordinance, super intelligent. Super intelligent. And all these things that were mentioned, graffiti on the wall, every single thing that was mentioned has nothing to do with this ordinance. There were already laws in place to protect and stop every single example that was given tonight. None of these examples had anything to do with napping or camping. So to watch you guys weaponize fear is a disgrace. I know we want this time to end as soon as possible, I get it. But through the chair to Mr. Boyer, watching you get everyone all worked up because you just love the sound of your own voice is not good for public service. In my opinion, you are a disgrace.
Come on, please. Jeez, you guys are adults here.
Do I need to give my name again? I gave it in the last
Yes,
one.
please. Yeah.
Okay, good evening. My name's David Sherry. My address is 241 Plainfield Avenue. I live in Berkeley Heights. I heard you guys talk about disturbances, and you claimed that this ordinance is not about housing status, it's about behavior. But what do you do? Like, how can you say that when this is a behavior that a person is doing to survive? You can't say you're not trying to criminalize homelessness when you are going to punish punish people for doing things that homeless people need to survive. You can't tell me that that's not about criminalizing homelessness. And even if it's not, that's what the effect is. You talk about people urinating and defecating in the parks. And I've talked to homeless people, and they said they always complain about this. People are locking them out of their bathrooms. If you want people to stop urinating in public parks, give them bathrooms. If you want people to stop making temporary shelters, give them housing. And you can't try to punish them into doing this. This makes them even more afraid to reach out to seek aid. It makes seeking assistance terrifying to people. And it makes them trapped.
Good evening, council members and fellow residents. My name is Enrique Guicardi, Guicardi. I live at 1 Surrey Road, Summit. I'm a senior at Summit High School, and I'm here tonight to talk about the ordinance. Now, I understand the concerns that led to this law. I've heard the argument that a few individuals have been aggressive or have refused help. But creating a policy that punishes an entire group of vulnerable people because of a handful of difficult cases is not just bad governance, it's inhumane. And a quick note for Councilman Boyer, why are we criminalizing homelessness and not arresting that individual for pulling a knife out? Why are we making an entirely new ordinance? Why not prosecute that individual? But instead, we want to create an entirely new law collectively punishing all homeless people. We are fining people who have no money. We are arresting people who have no homes. This is not a solution, it's a cycle. You can't just jail someone into housing. This law doesn't address the root cause of homelessness. It hides it. It punishes people for their poverty, their trauma, and their circumstances. It assumes that because a couple of individuals have refused help, all unsheltered people are choosing to live on the streets. We're forgetting that these people have stories. They face serious mental health issues, or whatever the case is. The point is, they're human beings. Choosing to be unhoused is rarely a real choice. It's the last option in a system that has failed them. And council members, I have a couple of questions. What if someone gets kicked out of their house and has to sleep on the street for the night? Will they be arrested or fined? What if I want to take a nap on a public bench in the park? Because under your ordinance, in section 1, it states, quote, "No person will be permitted to sleep in any public area or portion thereof at any time," quote. And whether you like it or not, in the next 10 to 5 years or whatever, there will be new homeless people, and they will show up. Will we just arrest them? This ordinance is the epitome of repression and a lack of empathy. What we need is a policy that focuses on the root issue, not the symptoms around it. What we need is outreach, mental health services, affordable housing, and programs that treat people like people. And I know we have these services, but we need to keep pushing it. We need to keep pushing it. We don't need fines. We don't need handcuffs. We need to keep trying to help these people, not just discard them to another town. Because once this deterrent of an ordinance is put in place, these people would just move to New Prov, they'll move to Maplewood. And then what happens when those city halls make this same type of ordinance that we're making here? What happens then? We are literally just trying to get rid of these people instead of looking at this problem in the face and actually addressing it. This law sends a message that Summit would rather criminalize homelessness than actually do the hard work of solving it. You talk about heroism, Councilman Boyer, on your post. Let's actually be heroes and actually help people instead of taking the easy way out. Because to me, I feel like some of us would rather just disappear of the problem than actually address it. I urge you to repeal this ordinance and replace it with a policy rooted in dignity. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to give my name. I'm happy to give my name. It's Joseph Maraziti, M-A-R-A-Z-I-T-I. I live at 50 Parmley Place in Summit. I want to thank the task force, the mayor, address council president, mayor, members of the council, and thank you for the work you've done so far. It's not done. I am humbled by what I just heard. I am encouraged by the effort of the young generation to make a statement like that. I've been practicing law for 60 years. I can't do better than what he just did.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Block. My family and I reside at 13 DeBarry Place in Summit. 22 years ago, I began care navigation and outreach work in Manhattan. It was in that time that I led trainings on care navigation, specifically for the unhoused population and the soon-to-be released individuals from Sing Sing, Bayview Correctional Facilities, Bellevue Hospital, and the Fordham School of Social Work. I closed that work in 2014 and laid the groundwork to prevent suburban homelessness with what is now known as GRACE. For the past 10 years, starting when I was chairman of the Board of Bridges, I advocated for municipal involvement in the outreach and intervention of our community's unhoused neighbors. And I am especially grateful for the resources and collaboration afforded by the mayor's task force over the past 2 years. 7 years ago, Summit Warm Hearts was created by one of our previous speakers, Leonard Prentice, who I've known for 30 years thanks to Bridges. It created a platform for stabilization, building trust, making a place to be human, and make rational decisions. In the 2021-22 season and in the 2022-23 seasons, each season, 6 participants obtained and continue to enjoy stable housing. In the 2022-23 season, it was an increased time of transience in our community, and most of the participants were only in Summit for an average of 2 nights due to diversion efforts. In 2023, we started working with Court Innovations, a court diversion program to take summonses from the unhoused population and create a pipeline to rehabilitation and housing. Most of the time, the tickets get thrown out, unfortunately, by the prosecutor or the judge. Most of the 5 individuals council references have extensive interactions with the police and the judicial system. It is yet to change anything. I don't know why we think this ordinance would make a difference when the judicial system has not changed. In the 2023-24 season, 20 participants obtained stable housing. Why? Because it was a year we could foster relationships and build plans from a place of strength and trust. In the 2024-25 season, Summit Warm Hearts only offered respite to 7 unique individuals based on the task force guidelines. 5 of those 7 obtained housing. This year, I do not have the same access to the data because of the boundaries put in place. It does not mean the numbers have changed substantially. In fact, our current estimate is that 17 individuals lack a stable address. This year, we were lucky to have access to the only solution to homelessness, housing. The rapid rehousing awarded by the DCA and enacted by the members of the task force is what ended homelessness for the 7 individuals. placing fines, jail time, other punishments lengthen the homelessness to housing pipeline. No one is endorsing crime here. I beg of you, you aim to stop crime, criminalize the criminal activity. An ordinance is a law we do not need. This council has made a name
Please-
for itself
please wrap
with
it up.
accountability and with care. This ordinance will not give you the result you seek. Please invest in what will: coordinated care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blake Scalet, S-C-A-L-E-T. I reside at 105 New England Avenue here in Summit. I'm also the pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church, 587 Springfield Avenue here in Summit since 1908. I want to read to you a statement actually that I didn't write, our whole congregation endorsed. I think the first time in 117 years we've ever done that. As followers of Jesus Christ and active members of the Summit community, we of St. John's Lutheran Church feel called to speak out against the proposed ordinance banning camping and sleeping in public spaces. This ordinance does not reflect the moral values of compassion and justice that our faith demands, and it will harm our most vulnerable neighbors rather than strengthen our community. Scripture makes clear that God identifies with the poor and the unhoused. In Deuteronomy, you are told, "You shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy and to the poor in your land." The prophet Isaiah urges us to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house. In 1 John we hear, "If anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart, how does God's love abide in him?" And Jesus says plainly, "I was hungry and you gave me food. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Just as you did it to one of the least of these, you did it to me." This ordinance would criminalize the simple act of existing in public while poor. That is not mercy. That is not justice. Now, as Lutherans, we affirm the role of the government to maintain safety and order, but never at the expense of care and protection for the poor. Enforce existing laws as necessary, but do not make poverty itself a crime. We urge the Summit Common Council to reject this ordinance. Instead, continue to invest in real, compassionate solutions and partnerships that address the root causes of homelessness. Our congregation has committed our time, energy, and resources to do this work, and we will continue to do so. Let us not turn our backs on those in need. Let us open our hearts as Christ has opened his heart to us. Adopted by the Congregation Council of St. John's Lutheran Church, April 15, 2025. And I would say personally, you've said, tell the truth. Well, you're talking about residents. These people are residents too. We are all one community together. All of us residents, safe, welcoming, vote, no, don't do this. This is not Summit.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Lee, 9 Pearl Street, Summit, New Jersey. My personal feeling is I am shocked by this ordinance, especially knowing the people that I know here on this council and knowing the kind of human beings that you are and the kind of compassion that you guys show. Typically, this ordinance does not reflect who you are and who we are as a community. And the other thing is, I have my best friend. My best friend from college dealt with schizophrenia. He's been homeless and he's not violent. He's not a danger to others, but he's one of those people that reject help. We do not have the right to take away his freedom for who he is. If we as a country criminalize people for who they are, just to clean up our streets so we don't have to face the ugliness of those issues, is not who I feel we should be as people. And that's why I urge the council to reject this ordinance. We cannot presume to know what is best for somebody else just because we feel we don't agree with their lifestyle. Courage is having the patience to be there for them when they are ready to say yes to the help that you're offering. That's true courage, and I ask this council to be courageous and be patient with those people and deal with the criminal situations, threatening somebody with a knife, with the criminal laws that we have to do that. But don't criminalize people for who they are. That's all I have to say, because that's a dangerous road to go down.
Thank you.
Do I need to give my name? I'm just teasing.
You've been up here, so you know why it's valuable. Thank you.
Jordan Klatt, 100 Wilson Road, Springfield, New Jersey. So if anybody knows one thing about me is I love this town. And the other thing they'll know about me is I would go through a wall for our police and first responders. I also understand what you all are going through tonight. It's a thorny issue. But this ordinance is not reflective of Summit. And I just ask you, my dad was probably the smartest guy I knew. And he always said when I had a problem like this, take a breath. And I ask you that you don't have to pass this tonight. The other thing I know about Summit is we have some of the smartest people living in our town. And this evening, just the firehouse idea, I don't know, but it got me thinking. There are probably a dozen ideas that we can do as a workaround to try and solve this problem. Use the resources of the community. Use your task force. But this is not reflective of the town that we built. And I'll leave you with one other thought. Many of you got elected here from a council because the council did not listen to the public, okay? This room, I've been to quite a few council meetings and it's a rare time that I've seen a meeting packed the way it is tonight. So please, I ask you to listen and just maybe pump the brakes on this. And thanks for everything you guys do.
Thank you.
I suppose I should give my name as well.
I come to you tonight to speak against Ordinance 11871. Across the country, we have seen a rise in homelessness. With people living paycheck to paycheck and the financial challenges of our day, homelessness could happen to anyone. It could happen to someone you know unexpectedly. How are we answering that challenge here in Summit? Until recently, I would have been said that I am proud of how we are answering that challenge because of the work of the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. Thank you, Mayor. But I will not be able to say that I am proud if this ordinance goes forward. The responsibility of a city is to keep all its citizens safe and well. Even the small percentage of the Summit community that are homeless. They too are a part of the Summit community. They too are our neighbors. We look to you, city leaders, to care for the whole community. We look to you for compassion. We look to you for wisdom. But this ordinance is neither compassionate nor is it wise.
Good evening. My name is Raisa Rubin Stankwitz. I live at 360 Jefferson Road in Princeton, and I am the Policy Associate for the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness. Grateful to be here tonight. I wanted to start off my remarks just by bringing up some unintended consequences of this ordinance that you may not have thought of. And these are consequences that go regardless of how it is actually enforced. Having this ordinance on the books will impact, others have spoken to the issue of trust, will impact the willingness, it may impact the willingness of some who are unhoused in Summit to engage with street outreach and homeless emergency services, even beyond what they may have been willing to do before. The other piece is that it may impact the willingness of people, might lead to people staying in unsafe housing situations because they are afraid of being unsheltered and unhoused and being arrested or being fined. And when I was at a hearing similar to this in Patterson, where they tried to pass a similar ordinance and ended up the council pulled the ordinance because of the degree of community backlash. There was someone who spoke to being in a domestic violence situation and how because of similar types of ordinances and policies, she had stayed in a situation that was unsafe for her for longer than she should have. And I think what that really speaks to is that policy is not effective if the people who are directly impacted by that policy are not at the table. And the unintended consequences are going to fall on people who I do not believe are in these rooms when these conversations are being had. So I really, really urge you all. I have heard about the extraordinary work that you have done when you have coalesced partners. You've put together this Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness and really done the work that works. You know, I don't need to give you examples. You know how this works because you have done it, and I am so grateful. And so I am asking, as other speakers have, please vote down this ordinance tonight. The language in it isn't even the finalized version you all want. Vote down the ordinance tonight. Go back to the Summit Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. Let the solution come from them and from those discussions with them. Let it come from the comments you're hearing from the community. Let it come for those with lived experiences of unsheltered homelessness. And then let's come back to the table and let's have this discussion. And I know I have 19 seconds. I'll just touch really briefly. The former executive director of the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness said that not having a house is not a crime, it's a tragedy. And I just want to end on those words. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paula Cerdas, last name Cerdas, and I live at 14 Tingley Road in Mendham Township. I want to say that this town has done something absolutely amazing. The town of Summit has become a destination. People travel here from all over the county to enjoy the gardens. People travel here from other counties to attend the beautiful churches and wander through the town. People come here from all of North Jersey to eat on Springfield Ave, and people from all over the state of New Jersey and New York City wish that they lived here. You guys have done something absolutely incredible, and I hope that you realize that. But for everybody at the table here, there is something important that you need to know. There's a benefit that you will get from not moving forward with this ordinance. There's a message that you're sending, and the message that we have heard is that the pesky do-gooders need to leave town. We need to go back to the other towns where we live. I have heard this numerous times from the Summit Council. And there's multiple ordinances that have come out, one after another, that are systematically dismantling the community that you have built here, that everyone is jealous of. So I want you to know that if you want us to leave and go back to our other towns, we can. We can stop attending events on your green and posting about them on social media. We can go to the restaurants that are in our own towns instead of meeting with friends and family here. And we can stop buying homes in the beautiful place that is Summit, New Jersey.
My name is Thaisa Kelly. I live at 208 Burger Street in Somerset, and I work with Monarch Housing Associates, which is a nonprofit that focuses on working to end homelessness across New Jersey, and we're based in Cranford, New Jersey. I think it's safe to say that everybody here, all of you at the table there, and everybody in this room and in the overflow rooms, does not want to see any person living on the street. Nobody wants to see somebody unsheltered. And I think it's also safe to say that everybody here also agrees that we need to ensure the safety of our community, and we want everybody to enjoy the space safely. That being said, making it a crime, developing this ordinance that makes it a crime to have, whether it is about sleeping in public, whether it is about camping in public, does not ensure safety and does not help to end homelessness in this community.
Gabrielle Porras, 30 Weaver Street. I'm going to be reading from my phone. This is my request to reject the criminalization of homelessness and invest in long-term solutions. First and foremost, fines and jails don't solve homelessness, they make it worse. Extensive research shows criminalizing homelessness worsens the crisis by increasing arrests, creating barriers to housing, and causing long-term harm to the victims of unjust ordinances. People are able to address mental health, addiction, and employment concerns far more effectively when they're housed. Real safety and public health comes from ensuring everyone has a safe place to sleep, not from adding to the jail population. Homelessness is a policy failure, not a personal choice. Homelessness exists because housing is too expensive and wages are too low. Summit has a decades-long wait list for affordable housing, and there are little to no options for those working minimum wage jobs to afford to live in the city. Criminalizing homelessness does not provide a sustainable solution.
I am so sorry for what happened to your daughter. From one young woman to a father of a young daughter, I understand and I completely empathize. I think I felt unsafe at times here too, so I completely understand your motivations for wanting to create this ordinance, but I don't think that this is the right way to solve your issues of safety here. In my opinion, the wording of this ordinance and the attitude that certain citizens have towards it is tying and conflating issues of criminal activity and public safety to issues of encampments and the unhoused population. This confusion may be one of the reasons that the unhoused in this town don't want to accept help from their civil servants, and it's because ordinances like these and attitudes that some citizens have is that they view unhoused people as criminals and subhuman. If we wanted to stop criminal activity, like what has happened in recent months, we should create ordinances that target things like harassment itself, not the unhoused.
I want you to imagine, if you will, a single mother with children who has nowhere else to go in an emergency situation, fleeing a dangerous circumstance, and now by definition, homeless. Driving down Broad or Springfield with no place to go, but the safest place they could find is a public lot or a side street to get a few hours of rest and safety. Under what and whose discretion will this ordinance determine what will happen to this mother and children? Will Child Protective Services be called? Will they be split up? Will they be fined, face jail time? What if warrants for unpaid parking tickets come up? Sure, this is not the intended, but can be one of the unintended consequences for someone who is camping in their vehicle or having personal belongings such as a sleeping bag or blanket. And how is this distinguishable from an individual who has personal belongings sitting on a park bench?
A lot of controversy leading to a packed City Hall meeting tonight. Fox 8's Jessica Formoso is live in Summit, New Jersey with the very latest. Hi, Jess.
Natasha, that's right, and that city council meeting is going on at this hour. It started roughly about 7:30, and as you mentioned, it is getting heated now. There was about 80 to 100 people. They actually had to use the hallway of City Hall to accommodate the overflow. Now, you know, the budget was on the list. That was the #1 topic, but people came out because of the Ordinance 11871, a piece of legislation introduced in the last city council meeting, which would restrict camping, sleeping, or storing belongings in public spaces with penalties including fines up to $2,000 or up to 90 days in jail. Tonight, the mayor of Summit saying after much thought and speaking with service providers, advocates, and others, they have amended the ordinance. We know the focus will now be on camping and unattended personal belongings, but at this hour, we are still waiting to hear from the city council on the details of this amended ordinance, which means, you know, are there going to be penalties? If so, what are the penalties? The city council was originally set to vote on the original ordinance tonight, but like I said, they have amended it. Now the mayor and city council addressing the crowd saying this is about public safety.
What we're talking about is a group of people that are pulling knives on kids. They're defecating and urinating on benches. They're fighting with police. That are harassing residents, that are writing terroristic graffiti in the bathrooms of the train station.
So I am going to... Now, before the meeting, homeless advocates gathered outside of City Hall to protest this ordinance, saying there should be more housing, not handcuffing individuals. About 14 months ago, the mayor and homeless advocates created a homelessness task force to address the issue. The mayor saying at the time there were nearly 40 homeless individuals here in Summit. The task helped 21 of them, providing them with services and housing. According to advocates, right now they say the city has a population of 5 homeless individuals. They say this is not a crisis and the city should be helping them, not trying to criminalize them.
Know that not only is criminalizing homelessness cruel, it is also ineffective and expensive. It costs up to 3 times more to pass an ordinance criminalizing homelessness and enforce that ordinance than it does to get people into housing.
So like I said, this meeting is still going on. Now we're up to the public comment portion, which there is a line. There's a lot of people who have something to say about this. So it could be another hour or two. It's going to be a long night here in Summit. But again, the City Council has put aside the original ordinance and have amended the ordinance. Of course, we're still waiting for the details. Hopefully we'll have those sometime tonight. That's the latest I have from Summit. I'm Jessica Formoso, Fox 5 News. Natasha?
I am a founder and trustee, of the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness. I am a partner at New Jersey's largest law firm. Maybe more relevantly, I'm the son of a man who grew up poor and homeless, unhoused. They called it homeless then. And I think I have more experience than any lawyer in the state of New Jersey in working with municipalities from the top to the bottom of the state in solving this problem the right way. And I share your views. I get it. It is an abomination that people are living in tents in this town. I would hate it in my town. Daughters who are being threatened. I'm a dad. Believe me, I get that. And this is all the more reason why we shouldn't let emotion dictate what happens tonight. I have a modest ask. You have not yet spoken to the lawyers who, 1, know the law in this area, New Jersey law, and 2, have worked successfully, whether it's in Lakewood, Toms River, Patterson, everywhere. We have been able to get rid of the tents, get rid of the people outside, and do it in a legal way. I applaud how you have made so much progress here, and please, don't blow it when you're about to take the last step here, because legally there is a fatal flaw in this ordinance. The amendment is helpful in some ways, but it doesn't have in it what I heard was your intent, that you're not criminalizing homelessness. Well, the reality is there are no available beds many nights in Summit, in Union County. We called this morning. No beds, people can't go there. And the problem with the ordinance is it doesn't have a clause saying what I think you believe, that no person shall be prosecuted under this ordinance if they are outside because there is no housing, no emergency shelter, no safe place that they can go. Because the absence of that runs afoul of all sorts of New Jersey laws. But let's be practical. It's been done the right way and the wrong way for 4 or 5 years. Lakewood litigated with us. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they wasted a fortune in taxpayer dollars. They got bad press, considered to be a heartless community. At the end of the day, it didn't work. There's no community where criminalizing homelessness has worked. I would urge you, give it 2 weeks. Let's sit down. If you won't withdraw the ordinance, at least fix the obvious legal fatal flaws. So before you embark on a course which is going to bring on all the problems to the town, will solve no problems, when this can be a success story, and like in all the other cities, we can do a joint press release together and we'll get rid of people living outside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dewan Norwood, and I serve as policy counsel at the ACLU of New Jersey, with our offices being located in Newark, New Jersey. ACLU-NJ opposes the ordinance to prohibit sleeping and camping on public property. As written, the ordinance unduly targets individuals experiencing homelessness. We are deeply concerned by the ordinance, as it would place severe punitive measures on those who are the most vulnerable in the community. On its face, this ordinance would only accomplish the goal of punishing and criminalizing individuals on the basis of their poverty and housing status. Instead of providing individuals with the help that they need, the city stands to further exacerbate the conditions experienced by unhoused individuals. Imposing fines and jail time on unhoused individuals will increase barriers to accessing housing and will perpetuate the very issues that the city claims to be addressing with this ordinance. Put simply, the policy proposed in this ordinance is ineffective and inhumane. It is unconscionable to propose meeting individuals in need with a bed in a jail cell instead of a bed provided through stable and safe housing or shelter options. At this critical political moment in our state and across the nation, city officials should be on the front lines of defending and protecting all within the communities that they serve. To pass this ordinance in any form would advance the notion that a human being can be beyond care, compassion, and decency. If the City Council is serious about addressing homelessness, the focus must be shifted to ensuring that there are shelters and resources that are easily accessible to people experiencing homelessness. Research by the National Homelessness Law Center shows that criminalization is the most expensive and least effective approach to addressing homelessness. Time and time again, it has been shown that criminalization does nothing to prevent it. Alternatively, policies that are rooted in care, such as emergency shelter and services, are more effective while costing less. Further, the city has presented no evidence to show that this ordinance would achieve its alleged goal of increasing public safety. Additionally, the ordinance lacks any clear guidance on enforcement. And as members of this council, the decision before you is whether you will cast a vote in support of the further criminalization of vulnerable people experiencing homelessness in the face of overwhelming evidence that doing so is harmful and ineffective. Ordinances like this one have no place here or anywhere in New Jersey.
Madam Mayor, Mr. President, members of council, my name is Avi Friedman, F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N, 34 Hartley Road. I'm also the rabbi of Congregation Or Shalom, 67 Kent Place Boulevard here in Summit. I came to Summit just a few months shy of 20 years ago. And when I came to town, I heard a story that made me realize that this was the town I wanted to live in. I don't know exactly how true it is, but I think there's a kernel of truth there. The story, as I understand it, is back in 1990, a young man who was born here in Summit was found dead on a park bench, and he had been living homeless. And the response of this town was to form a task force, and out of that task force came SHIP, Summit Helping Its People, which to this day provides over 15,000 meals a year to people in need. That's the kind of city I want to live in. When the mayor established the homelessness task force, it only reinforced for me what this city is and can be. As our elected officials, you are now the stewards of this city's reputation. And we can dismiss it as clickbait, but the press that we are getting is incredibly negative, and I think it's warranted. And we have an opportunity to step on the brakes, to reconsider, and to think through the best path forward. I should have added, in addition to being the rabbi, of a congregation. I'm also the parent of 4 children, 3 of them daughters, who I've raised here in Summit. I understand a father of daughters, and watching them go out into the world and the risks that they face, and if I could eliminate all those risks, I would. But this is not the path forward. Summit is better than this, as others have said before me, and I implore you to step on the brakes, table this ordinance, and let's work together to find a better solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner, minister at Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in Summit, president of the Summit Interfaith Council, and a member of the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. Over the course of the last 3 weeks, in the midst of Passover, spring break, and Holy Week, we have attempted under pressure to resolve the problems in this ordinance. Most of Common Council acknowledge that this ordinance is in response to a small number of people, perhaps about 5. My concerns with the ordinance are numerous, but here's the primary one. This is not something I like sharing publicly. 24 years ago, I was homeless. I was scared, and for a period of time, I had nowhere to go. It was no fault of my own. But I like to think of myself now, if I'm honest, at times as so different from that person then. Protected, accomplished, educated. But the truth is that the vast majority of people do not become homeless because of a failure in morals or poor choices, but like me, had something completely out of their control happen to them. And the truth is, we shouldn't write laws for a small handful of people when there are harmful consequences for many more. Over the course of these last few weeks, I have wondered, what if this passes and we need state funds? Will DCA prioritize a community in which our practices run counter to housing first, which is the standard proven policy? What if this passes and, as some have promised me, we don't enforce it equally and we violate the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution? What if a family loses housing tomorrow and the finite funds we have worked for in partnership with DCA have run out? What will we tell them? We are sorry. We didn't mean it. They were an unintended consequence. Summit deserves better. We deserve better than this proposal. We're capable of better. If we're really honest, as I have been with myself in these past few weeks, I know we can do better. But it will take all of us doing it together. Give us that time. Vote no.
Thank you.
Rather than blaming and punishing people for sleeping or storing possessions in public spaces, Summit should be facilitating the development of more affordable housing. Regardless of what you, as our city officials, have claimed, Summit has not met its round 3 fair share obligation and has only facilitated the construction of 23 of its 50-unit obligation. The energy that you are putting into this unsound ordinance would be better directed toward right policy choices.
We've had experts tell us, legal experts tell us that this is not the proper way to go. We've had social service experts tell us this is not the way to do it, to solve the issue here in Summit. And as any current middle school parent has been told by their child, I'll tell the council this: let them cook. Let them do their job. They're batting 750. In the span of 2 years, they've reduced homelessness in Summit by leaps and bounds. The last few are never going to be easy. They're going to be the hardest ones. And by using the stick, by using fear, that's not the way we're going to solve homelessness here in Summit. And I think it's fitting that we're bringing this up in a time when one of the leaders of the great religions of the world, Pope Francis, the late Pope Francis, lies in state.
Good evening. Tom Zieber, 768 Springfield Avenue. I'm here tonight to express my support for the passage of this ordinance. And I also want to dispel with one particular aspect of the opposition to the ordinance that I find especially false and misleading. I've heard from some who've opposed this ordinance that by enacting this measure, the Common Council is showing a lack of compassion. Well, I'm here to say that that is just not true. And in fact, it is just the opposite. I've spent 3 years on a mental health nonprofit board, and even before I began that service, I've always been incredibly passionate about mental health causes. And the fact of the matter is there's nothing compassionate about enabling individuals who are clearly already facing hard times to sleep on concrete. There's nothing compassionate about turning a blind eye to them relieving themselves outdoors. There's nothing compassionate about permitting them to enter or remain in a cycle of despair. This council, by passing this ordinance, is actually showing great compassion. They are doing it by offering help to the homeless individuals in this community while still fulfilling their duty to maintain public health and public safety. The mayor's homelessness task force, as has been brought up a number of times tonight, has in fact obtained housing for over 20 people. That is compassion. The council will, by passing this ordinance, empower Summit's unhoused to choose a path to redemption and recovery without shirking its obligation to maintain a safe and welcoming environment in its public spaces. That is compassion. And I trust that this council will not only continue to work to help those who will accept it to find housing, but expand its mission to preventing future homelessness in town. That is compassion. Enacting this measure will ensure the proper and efficient use of city resources. It will keep our public spaces sanitary and suitable for use by Summit's residents, young and old. And it will make gains in protecting the health, be it mental or physical, of both the housed and unhoused within city limits. So I hope that council will proceed with passing this ordinance. It is simply the compassionate thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the Common Council for having us all here, and for everyone that has come. My name is Charlene Walker. I'm the Executive Director of Faith in New Jersey, the statewide power building vehicle that was lucky enough to bring a lot of these people here. I also, for the record, live in Roselle, New Jersey, and I will not put my actual street address for the fear of being doxxed because of my work. So I'm really happy that I went right after him. I also have over 10 years of experience working in mental health, and serving on a board does not mean caring and actually providing mental health supports for others. The reality is when we think about compassion and we think about mental health, the truth of the matter is what compassion looks like in mental health is actually providing positive behavioral supports, proper medication, and teaching people coping mechanisms, not criminalizing them and throwing them in jail. That is actually what it looks like. I myself was born homeless. I was born and put up for adoption immediately. I've grew and lived in a foster home my entire life and was lucky enough to be adopted. But the great part about that home I grew up in was the fact that my mother made home for so many other people, people who were unhoused. Lived with us, and she gave them a place to stay. And that led me down the path to become a community organizer. And I'm really thinking, as I was listening to all of these conversations, that there are some skills that community organizers have that y'all are being called to have right now. One, in order to be a good community organizer, you have to be unapologetic about the truth. The truth is the amendment that you're putting forward does nothing but just replicate and soften language, and it still outlaws sleeping. You have to be unapologetic about the fact that this is going to harm people. This is broken window policing, which funneled so many people into our criminal legal system over the years and never actually addressed any of the problems. You have to also be curious and ask questions. When I was listening to everything, they're talking about porn at the library that people are watching. Where was the curiosity to ask why are there not blocks on library computers? Where was the curiosity to ask, why are people defecating in public spaces? You have to be curious. And you have to have enough imagination to think about, how do we actually solve these things? Because policing is not it. Police are not social workers. They are not trained in positive behavioral supports. I myself have trained police officers. And the first thing that they will tell me after a training is, we should not be doing this. I have seen this council, as we looked at the budget, not have the imagination to reimagine how do we actually provide supports for people who are unhoused. Your health department has the one of the smallest budgets. Yet, most of the things that people who are unhoused need fall under health. The last, things that I just want to say that we also need to build real community. I heard people talking about being scared of people. We're at a time where people are so scared of each other.
Could you please finish it up?
The council should be asking, how do we actually build community so people actually see each other? There's nothing good about this ordinance, and people have stated it so many different ways.
Okay, thank you.
But the last thing is, be brave enough to actually say, you know what, I need help. Maybe I did the wrong thing. And to stand against those that are telling you otherwise. Amen.
Our kids go to that library. Our kids use the facilities around here. So I'm almost kind of emotional about the gentleman who came here before. I see you around town, and I'm glad that you accepted help from Summit and that you're living here now, and you're a resident of Summit, and we welcome you. But if there are people who aren't accepting our help, and they don't want to be helped, we can't have our kids be at risk just because we want to say nice things and elect the right politicians. It's not right. You coming in here and you don't even know the facts of the ground in Summit. You're making commentary, but you don't even live here. You don't come to the council meetings. You don't live in Summit. You don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of people coming up here, and they don't have kids here. So for all the people who didn't come here tonight, who are busy with kids at home, whose kids use these facilities, please remember them. And I don't know if this is the perfect policy. I don't know. But what I do know is that in the past year, this group, led by Mayor Fagan, and the people she's brought together, and the work they've done, has led to incredible successes. And this man has a home because of that. And you gotta trust the people who we elected a few years back, who've turned this town around. The budget at the schools was going to be 9%. It got down to 4% because of Mayor Fagan and the people here. There are a lot of things going on in this town that have been better the past few years because of the people that we put in charge. And I just wanted you all to remember that. There's a lot of people that have your back, even if you weren't here tonight, with these speeches and all this crap and misinformation that they're sending on their email list to their listservs. So I don't know how it's going to go. I don't mind. Do what you want, and if it doesn't want to do amendments, talk to the lawyer for sure, do all the stuff. But I think we should trust the process, trust the people we elected, and I support the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. I've been sitting out there for about 3 hours or so.
Name and address, please.
You don't have to do that, but I'll do it anyway for you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ken Schifrin. I'm at 45 Springfield Avenue, right here in Summit. I have kind of a unique view than a lot of people. I've been homeless for 3 years. The last 4 months, I have a place. There's a lot that goes on in somebody's mind in terms of involvement. How involved do I get? How much do I just watch and see what happens? And tonight I decided to sit back and see what happened and how I felt things were going. I know Dewey's worked hard on what's happened. I know other people on the council have worked hard to try to get this ordinance, approved. Whichever way it goes, I can tell you one thing. I like the people of Summit a lot because no matter what side they're on, they'll express to you exactly what they think their political views are, despite that, and do it for the most part, in a friendly way. And that's one thing that's impressed me about this town and about the people. And I look at the council here, and I think you'll do the right thing. Whatever you decide that's going to be. And somebody said, a couple of people back, this isn't the end. So it's not just this one vote that's going to make us or break us.
Okay. There's been a lot of discussions back and forth. I've heard some comments from the audience. I am going to actually call for a motion to go into executive session to talk to our legal counsel at the time. I'm going to we're going to be in there for 10 minutes. If you guys want to.
You need a motion and a second.
So I'm going to make the motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're in executive session. We'll be out in hopefully 10 minutes.